Today, I'm joined by Bebe MacKellar, a decorator whose work is known for its warmth, layered detail, and personal approach to creating a space. Her path into the world of design began close to home, apprenticing under her mother at Fanny Bolen Interiors before building a career of her own, rooted in color and a strong sense of place. Over the years, she has become known for creating spaces that feel collected and homes that reflect the lives lived within them. We talk about what it means to learn design through experience over theory, how working alongside her mother has shaped her perspective, and why the most meaningful interiors are often ones that evolve over time. We also explore her approach to sourcing, her love of entertaining and everyday living, and how her ventures reflect a continued commitment to thoughtful, well-chosen pieces. This is a conversation about instinct and the quiet art of making a home feel truly your own. Welcome to Grandma's Silver, where tradition meets today. I'm Allie, your host of the Grandma's Silver podcast and founder of the Grand Millennial Lifestyle. Here, we blend aesthetics with nostalgia, engaging in conversations with lifestyle brands, designers, and more to rediscover the timeless charm of the past. Join me as we journey from home to heart, illuminating the past and polishing the present with the gleam of Grandma's Silver. I'm eager to get started. I'm going to pass this over to you for a hot second, just so you can go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and what you do, and we will keep going from there.
Okay. Hi, my name is Bebe MacKellar, and I'm an interior decorator and shop owner in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Amazing. Well, could we start by talking about how we got here? What's
Yeah,
your background? What's your journey?
it's been a long journey. So I guess in 1992, I graduated from college in Virginia with an art history major, and I had been an editor at the school paper. And so I moved to Dallas, Texas, and became a writer for a community newspaper. And after about a year of that, I decided I wanted to move back to Oklahoma and I wanted to join my mom in her interior design firm. So I came back and started as an underling working for her and learning the ins and outs of design and decorating. And I then, about 4 years into that, decided that I wanted to open a shop. So I opened a shop, which still is there and bears my name, called BB's. And after about 5 years, I decided I was moving to New York. So I sold my shop. 9/11 happened. I never ended up moving. And I stayed in Oklahoma and took kind of some time off and then got back into decorating. Kept doing that until about 20, I guess I'm coming upon the 5 year anniversary. So 2021, I decided to dip my toe back into retail and opened a shop called Buzz that I operate, as well as operating Fanny Bolen Interiors, which is an interior design firm that my mom started about 40 something years ago.
Okay, I have so many questions based off of all of this. The first is I love that your background is history, art history. You do interior decorating. Retail requires a certain eye for buying. So how does that all inform or shape the way you look at interiors or objects for interiors today?
Oh gosh. Well, I think art history is such a good base for me, just with color, form. You just really develop an eye, I believe, by studying all these wonderful paintings and sculptures that you are go to museums and see them in person. You are able to sometimes touch some sculptures. There's a lot of form, and you have to learn how to make that form into function in decorating and how to take color and really manipulate that to create beautiful spaces.
Now, how did you, of course, it sounds like you sort of like grew up in this environment of design, right?
Yes, I did.
So what was it about that world when you were reconsidering, I guess, what you wanted to do? What was it that made you kind of feel pulled to explore decorating design retail for interiors as your option?
Well, I think I tease with my mom. I don't think anybody ever really decides to be a decorator. It sort of chooses you. If you when I was young, I would go over to friends' houses. They would ask me to arrange their bookcases and show me things and ask me my opinion. So a lot of it, if you have a knack for it and you have a natural eye, which God gave me, which I'm very blessed, and then I had the discipline of, studying art history and studied some architecture in college and working with my mom and learning from her because she had so much experience. It just formed in me an ability to be an interior decorator, and I fell in love with it. I love people, and that's a whole nother thing we can talk about, but it's such a people intensive business.
Yeah, well, and very personal, which we can talk about too. Really quickly, one thing that I'm curious about, because you have a really unique perspective having kind of done this in a generational way. So, did that provide you a different perspective and that perhaps your contemporary, like peers in formal design training, did you notice anything
I
different
think
there
I'm
for you?
very blessed. So, my great grandmother had a decorator. So, I come from a long line of family loving their homes, entertaining in their homes, acquiring beautiful pieces, silver, art. And growing up, I grew up in a beautiful home. And my mom used a decorator who was kind of at the time the best decorator in Oklahoma. And I grew up in homes of my family members that he had decorated. So it assimilated where I just learned so much about design just by living in these spaces. And these were the spaces that formed, really, I would say, my love for interior decorating.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you kind of phrased it that way too, because it's almost like you had such emphasis on the function that a lot of people perhaps wouldn't initially have,
Right.
which is kind of neat. Do you find that you and your mom have a similar, is that a loaded question?
It's kind of a loaded question. I would say we both appreciate all the same things, but I would say she's lived in every kind of house, and she'll tell you that. I mean, she's lived in a country French house. She's lived in just a good classic contemporary house. So she probably ha changes gears more than I do.
Okay.
I love color, and I really love a pretty traditional decor. That doesn't
Okay.
mean that's what I always do for my clients because I can do anything, but my personal home is very traditional.
Going off of that, is there anything, because one company, different lines of thought, what's your kind of philosophy that you carry into your projects with your clients?
First and foremost, it has to be comfortable. That's Comfort is the number one thing I try to provide my clients with in their homes. And function, they have to work, people will sit and say, "Oh, we don't watch TV all the time." And then you go to their house and you have three kids on a sofa watching TV. So you have to sort of be a mind reader sometimes because people don't always translate how they live to you verbally. So you really have to watch, see how they live, pick up on cues when you talk to them. And I really, I really feel like comfort and function are two of the most important things in being a good decorator.
Yeah, I probably should have asked this one before, but you were talking about you're kind of being surrounded by this, right? This upbringing and then going into it professionally. Was there a time where you kind of found yourself developing your own voice, or did it always exist? Like, did you always find that you loved design but felt perhaps like not entirely connected to your surroundings, or did you always love your surroundings and then slowly develop your own voice as a designer? Like, what is that process?
I always loved my surroundings. And I always was drawn, like, I love chintz. To me, chintz
Yeah.
never went out of style. No, I feel like I always had a voice. I always knew what I liked, and I was able to have the ability to use my voice in projects and people hopefully listen to me and, respect the decisions I make in their homes.
How has all of this translated as a buyer?
It's so natural for me because I think I go to people's houses and I see what they need,
Yeah.
what are things that people look for. I love buying. I absolutely love being a buyer at my shop. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I am a very decisive person. Like when I see something, I know if I like it or don't like it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So this goes into one of my, you kind of addressed it a little bit, like that design is sort of just like you have it or you don't. Do you feel that way about taste? Is it inherited? Is it learned? Is it refined?
That's a really tough question because there are people that you can develop an eye and you can develop taste, but I think it's also something that some people just have. If you want to learn and you want to buy beautiful coffee table books, if you want to subscribe to all the shelter magazines, you can train your eye to see what is out there and what you like and what by seeing magazines and books what other people like because publishers publish and editors things that people are going to want to read.
Mm.
So I think that's a really great way to train your eye.
Speaking of your eye, I want to go back to, you touching on how people-centric this world is, and also how, you talked about understanding how people live. So let's talk a little bit about what that all means to you and then how it informs your work.
I went to a client's house to photograph it yesterday and I did the house. Oh, it's been, I guess, about 13 years ago. And I walked in and she keeps it absolutely beautiful. All I had to do was bring in fresh flowers. I didn't have to fluff the cushions. I didn't have to make sure the pictures were on the wall straight. She keeps it just absolutely as if I just walked out the door.
Wow.
So I love my clients that respect what I do and take my cues when I walk out the door and are able to continue to keep their houses that way. And it's so fun and it's fun to see them happy in these spaces. That just it makes my heart sing. I mean, I love my clients to be happy. I wouldn't be a good decorator for somebody who was a real cynic and didn't love life. I mean, I want my houses to breathe. I want people to entertain in the houses I do. I want them to be proud when they have people over. And I like to teach them things. I want to, teach them how to set a table properly, how to, make sure that you have flowers and orchids in your house before you entertain, how to dim the lights before a party. I love doing all that. And I think that's something, a gift that I have, making their house a home.
It's also such an intimate process because you have to really understand a person and how they live that life in order to make that house a home. So, could we talk about the kinds of things, perhaps even the sorts of conversations you're having with folks that you can then build a space that reflects them?
Yes, definitely. I mean, if you walk into a house and you have a client that has three sons and you see socks all over the floor and tennis shoes stacked up, then maybe you try to develop an area for a mudroom in their house so they have a place to put those things. If you see that, a man has newspapers scattered all around, well, nowadays I guess we don't see newspapers as much, but magazines maybe, or keep their laptop out. Maybe you try to find a space in that room where people can keep things. I'm definitely a person that loves order. If the one of the two, the mother or the father, loves to cook, then let's make the kitchen the centerpiece of the house. So I really try to listen to my clients and take visual cues as to what needs to happen in their house for them to be happy.
How about, because you mentioned that you are a little more traditional, but you're also someone who has a retail space. So, do you work with antiques?
I used to a lot more than I do now, but I still love antiques and I really feel like they're kind of making a resurgence. I'm going to Europe this summer and I'm, of course, plan to go to the Paris flea market and I'll probably end up buying some things and shipping them home and I love antiques. I think every room should have something with some age. It doesn't have to be a large armoire, but a beautiful commode, some beautiful porcelain. Just
Yeah.
some things with some age really make a house, beautiful blue and white jars from China. I mean, real ones that, well, not that the others aren't real, but ones with some age.
Do you find that your clients come into the project with some of that already, and then you're working to build it into the space?
I love when that happens. I did a really fun project, a condominium for a couple, and they were moving into the husband's mother's condominium, and we did a complete overhaul. And the bathroom had Fortuny fabric on all the walls. And there were some places where it had been damaged, but I took that off the walls and put it on all the dining room chairs. So I love to repurpose things, and that they had beautiful collections. It was such a fun project for me. Beautiful silver, beautiful antiques. That was just a really fun project, and I felt so proud of that project because I was able to incorporate all these things that were meaningful for them
Yeah.
and make them work in a more modern way.
Oh, I love that. Well, speaking of meaningful, with being in this world of decorating and then also having a shop, if we back up even further, you said you like to make a house a home.
Right.
So, in your eyes, of course, comfort and function, but is there anything else that you feel makes a home feel not just decorated and pretty, but authentic?
Well, I would say a love of the homeowners having a love for the home
Mm.
shows. Like it really does. I mean, you can walk into the prettiest house, and if you don't feel a soul in there, then you lose something. It's just really nice to see people live in a house. They have dogs up on the couch. Just things that make it feel like home. I have a large blonde lab and a little King Charles Spaniel, and I keep things on the sofas, but they're everywhere. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My dog is in charge of our home.
most of my clients have dogs, so I'm used to working with dogs.
How are you getting to know? I'm always so intrigued by this ability that designers and decorators have to connect with a client in a way that they can translate their personality and needs to a space. How do you approach those conversations? I mean, this is a relationship that you're building. So what
Oh, for
what does
sure.
that look like for you when you work with your clients?
Well, I mean, really getting to know them. I mean, having them come in to a lot of meetings in the shop, having them stay for lunch, sitting around the table talking about what they're doing on the weekend, what travels do they have planned, what sports are their kids playing. It's a business, but I don't charge by the hour for this exact reason
Mhm.
because I might spend an hour in a 3-hour meeting talking about their family or things that they're doing. And I don't want to write down that I have to charge them for that. So I do flat fee, and that's how I work. And it enables me, I feel like, to get to know my clients and spend a lot of time with them that's
Yeah,
not necessarily decorating.
that makes so much sense. Do you get to know their kids? Or are you learning through the parents? Like how does it differ for you when kids are involved?
I get to know the kids, and a lot of people want their kids to come in. I just am helping someone right now, and she let two of her kids come in, and we probably have 100 wallpaper books here at the shop. We have a huge fabric library, and she brought her kids and let them go through every wallpaper book and mark the ones that they liked and let them have a decision. And when there's a child that wants to have a voice, I really try to let them make their room their own. I might let them pick 5 things, and I might direct them to one of them that I think's a better choice, but I let them have some sort of a voice.
You mentioned that you lean a little more traditional, but you also love color. And so one of the things I really love to talk about is color, because I also love color. So how do you approach selecting colors that are timeless? I mean, you mentioned going into a home that you decorated 13 years ago and it's still feeling relevant today, right? So how do you go about that?
I stay away from trends for sure. It's funny, I say, blondes love blue And I feel like dark-headed people tend to like green more and more earthy tones. And I don't know if there's really anything to that, but
Well, it's
it,
funny because we're sitting here and people won't see us, but you're blonde and you're wearing I think like a light blue and
yeah,
I'm darker haired and I'm wearing green. So in this conversation it tracks.
yes, for sure. I definitely think people and you find out they go to the beach all the time. Well, they love blue. I mean, they go to the mountains, they like green. I mean, there's you can tell a lot by what somebody has on. We had an appointment with a client a couple of days ago, and my mom and I were sitting there visiting with her, and we were talking about colors and what colors she wanted in her living room. And we pulled out some really soft, pale pinks and creams. And she was like a little bit unsure. And my mom was like, look at what you have on. Look at your glasses. Look at your shirt. Look at your shoes. This is your palette. So
Oh,
I feel like people wear their palette a lot. And,
yeah.
there's people that do those color things where you go and they read
Oh,
what
like t they tell you like based on your skin and yeah, your
yeah.
hair.
Are you a summer, a spring, a winter, or fall? So I definitely think there's something to be said about that. I do think that color, that certain people just read a certain color.
Do you ever find that that becomes a challenge when you're trying to incorporate a client's preferred palette with the environment in which they live, or does it usually work out where you can make it cohesive?
Well, I mean, I think sometimes people like things that are really beachy and you don't live near a beach. You've got to be a little bit careful about that. I mean,
Hmm.
you can still have the pretty colors, but you can't. I mean, I love quadrille and China Seas, and to me, that really works in resort communities. I'm not saying I never use it in Oklahoma, but it definitely feels more coastal to me. I try to listen to my clients, but at the same time, my mom always says, I refer to my mom a lot because she's my mentor, but
Yeah.
and I've learned so much from her. But one of the things she always tells clients, she's going to tell them something three times. And after the third time, if they don't listen, she doesn't want to hear about it again. Because as a designer, part of you're trying to rein your client in a little bit. I mean, because they're going to like a lot of things that possibly don't work in their home. So it's really important that you're able to bring them in a little bit and still make it their home, but let them know, some things just don't work. And another thing my mom says that I think such a great analogy with decorating is that you just can't love every single thing in your house. Some things just have
Mm.
to be. And she equates it with baking a cake. If you just ate the flour, it wouldn't be any good. But all the things mixed together, it makes a beautiful cake. And it's like that with a house. There are some things that are like the flour. They just need to be there to make it all work.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I like that. I'm going to hold on to that one. Did you want to talk more about your obviously personal relationship with your mom, but also your working relationship and mentorship? Is that something that you want to speak to more?
Sure, I'd love to. I've loved working with my mom. I won't say that it doesn't present challenges
I'm
because
sure.
we're together a lot, but I was interviewed not long ago and they said if you could hire any decorator in the world, who would it be? And I said my mom.
No.
I think she's so talented. She has such a gift, not only with interior decorating, but with people. And
Hmm.
she's been able to teach me how to be a really great decorator, I feel like. It wasn't something I thought I wanted to do. I didn't major in college in interior design because I thought I really wanted to go work in New York at Sotheby's or something like that, which didn't end up working out. But she's just taught me so much about decorating and just the experience that she has and sharing that with me has just been, I mean, I don't know how I could have gotten a better education by going to school.
Yeah. Oh, that's so neat. I could ask you a million questions about that. But one thing I wanted to make sure we talk about today is it is spring. I would love to hear again with your perspective as a decorator, but also as someone with a shop and who is buying and has is thinking seasonality pretty frequently, almost all the time, I'd have to imagine.
Yes.
Is it's a natural time to refresh a home.
Oh, for
And
sure.
so for people who maybe don't really know what that looks like in terms of decorating, do you have a natural place for them to start?
Next door at Buzz, my gift and home accessory shop, we start doing a lot of acrylic and melamine, things that won't break out by the pool, colorful beach towels, fun hurricanes to, do candlelight outside. So serving pieces that aren't, necessarily something you'd want to put in your dining room, something you would more want to use outside. So, I just personally redid all my outdoor furniture, recovered everything just because it was time. But I feel like spring comes around and people start thinking they either go to the lake maybe or they have a beach home. We more of the lake where I live, but people that live near a coast want to go to the beach.
Hmm.
So I think, looking at magazines, looking at catalogs are great. And I know now everything's a lot of stuff's online, but I still love to pick up a good catalog and
Me
see
too.
what
I know.
the photos are pretty and it's just really fun.
I agree. You're touching on something important, which is, you mentioned like recovering your outdoor furniture. What other sorts of updates do people perhaps overlook that can make a big difference when they're doing things this time of the year, whether it be indoor or outdoor?
Well, a fresh coat of paint does worlds of good in the spring. Getting your windows cleaned. I'm getting my windows done on Monday. Um, just working in their yard, planting flowers, just really bringing the outdoors in. I think that starts, cha maybe you change your placemats that you're using and go to more of a spring look. I started using my spring placemats this week. Just things, the middle of April comes and we're not supposed to have any more freezes here, which sometimes, who knows? It's 90 degrees here today and it's supposed to be 58 on Saturday. So
Ours
go
is pretty
figure.
similar.
Yeah, it's just you don't really know what you're supposed to wear, but I do think just really trying to bring the outdoors in and adding more color, that all that is this time of year really fun.
You said Oklahoma City?
Yes.
Are you from, that's like where are you from that
I'm from
area?
Oklahoma City. Yeah, I went to college in Virginia at a small women's college, and then I lived in Dallas for a year, but the rest of my life I've been in Oklahoma City.
I've never been. So talk to me about what is going on there in the spring. Are there traditions that you enjoy?
Well, we have one race called the Redbud Classic that just happened this past weekend that takes place in the neighborhood where I live, which is a beautiful neighborhood that has a lot of hills and people really take care of their yards and it's very beautiful. There's the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon, which commemorates the domestic terrorism that we had that blew up the Alfred Murrah building. We have another race that's a marathon that goes all through the city and comes through my neighborhood. So both of those are events that really there's a lot of hype surrounding in the spring. There's the Arts Festival, which takes place downtown, which is a great place. It's a great place for young couples to go start purchasing art. There's a lot of well-priced things there and great artists. So, and that's been a tradition for many years. So, we have a lot of fun summer and spring type things.
Yeah. You touched on art, and just because of your background and because you're also, in this world of buying, for people who are interested in art and don't know where to start, is that something that you recommend? Is that they go to shows and just look for things that appeal to them? Because I know buying art, I feel like can be very an intimidating thought.
Right. I think it's really important to go to galleries, see art, learn about artists, take catalogs where they're available. ArtNet is a great thing to subscribe to that you can start tracking artists. I love to buy at auction. Really, you get a lot of information through auction houses, their websites. I think homes need artwork and it can be, I mean, the art behind me is all stuff I do. That's the watercolors that
You do that?
yeah, I
Oh, they're
do.
beautiful. They're so pretty. I was actually thinking as you're talking, I was like, I wonder if she collects an artist, but that's all your work. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it can be your child's handprint hanging in your laundry room. I have that in my laundry room. I mean, it doesn't all have to be fine art, and it can be, something that costs $100 that you find at a garage sale. But if it makes you happy, then, throw a frame on it and put it on the wall.
I love that. One thing that I wanted to ask, I often like to talk about legacy in this space. And so I'm curious about what, if anything, that you hope people feel when they're walking into a space that you've decorated, and perhaps how you feel when you walk away from a space that you've decorated.
Oh, wow. I want them to feel that they were comfortable in this space and that it was beautiful. I would say comfort and beauty are the two things that I would want them to feel.
And do you have varying feelings yourself when you leave projects? Is it pretty consistently the same, or does it depend on the project, or is it emotional when you leave a
I was
project?
That's so funny you said that. I was getting ready to say it's really emotional.
I kind of was thinking it might be because it's really a
It's
personal
like having a
relationship.
baby. I mean,
Yeah.
you've created something that other people are going to enjoy and that hopefully brings them a lot of joy. I mean, it usually does. And it's so nice when people reach out, the next day after we do a reveal and just how happy they are in their home. I mean, it makes me really happy to bring that joy to other people.
Oh, so special. What is the average do you have an average length of time that you're working with a client?
It depends. If it's new construction, it can be 2 to 3 years. We actually just finished a project that probably was about 5 years from start to finish. When I'm just going in to redo, I'd like to say 6 months is pretty normal. With lead times since COVID, the lead times have changed a lot.
Yeah.
So
So I've
it
heard.
it takes a lot longer to get things.
I am going to make sure that for everyone listening that wants to connect with you and follow along, that we'll put in the show notes links to everything so that they can find you easily and your shop. I want to just thank you for taking the time to be here today because this was a very fun spring conversation.